All right, we are live. We want to welcome you to the January edition of the Apalachee Inshore Report. This is January 2021. Our title sponsor for this month is North Florida Aquatic Adventures, offering short-term rentals in Shell Point Beach, Florida,
Beautiful Shell Point Beach,
along
Florida.
with guided kayak fishing tours, guided eco tours, and fishing charters. So Evan and I are in Shell Point. You can see we've got a beautiful view behind us here.
Yeah, right on the canal. I'm looking at the Gulf right here. It's a nice place. Real nice place.
So, yeah, it's January, New Year, man. New Year, 2021. We put 2020 behind us. Fishing's been really good.
Fishing has been good, and we're at that time of year where it's fishing around fronts. It can be really bad if you pick the wrong day, but a lot of days it can be really good.
Yeah, I mean, really, just if you're fishing a day or two around a front, sometimes you can have a kind of a tough day, but usually those days between those fronts, you can get out
I
there.
think a good rule of thumb is
do
if
some
you
really good.
have stable or rising water temperature, you can do better than if the water temperature is still falling. And water temperature lags a lot more than air temperature, so it's going to be a day or two removed from the actual cold front where it actually stops bottoming out. I
Yeah,
guess.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. So before we get really into the report, I just want to let's just talk real quick about what we got new for this year. We've got some new sound equipment, so hopefully the sound quality is better. We've kind of upgraded our equipment a little bit, so we're hoping to bring you a better experience each month when we do the fishing report. Having some different guests on there. We've got some different title sponsors that we're working with this year, so we're excited to bring that all to you as we move forward with 2021.
Yeah, and we're simulcasting now. Hopefully, I hope it is, but we're simulcasting now on the Apalachee Inshore page, the Plug and Fly Charters page, and the Plug and Fly
YouTube page.
Charters YouTube
Yeah.
page, which is
You can find it at Dude Where's My Plug on YouTube. Either one. You search either one and it'll pop up. So,
so
yeah.
if you don't have Facebook or your friends don't have Facebook, tell them they can watch it now on YouTube.
Absolutely. So we're excited about that. Like we said, multi-streaming platforms and just trying to reach more people and bring y'all what's happening in Apalachee Bay.
So I want to talk more about fishing.
Yeah,
now.
let's get back to the fishing thing. That's a
Okay.
good idea. Yeah.
All right. So another big thing this time of year is and some of you know this, but you get these tides this time of year are very important because you're fishing in close. I mean, it depends on its low or high tide, but on high tide you don't want to be far off the grass line at all. I mean, a few hundred yards off the grass line is really all you want to be,
Yeah.
or up in a creek or a river.
Yeah,
or
for
whatever.
sure. You're definitely, if you're fishing like we were talking about earlier, Evan, if you're fishing in, you can be in 4 feet of water in a creek and that's where you want to be. But if you're, in 4 to 5 feet of water out on the flats, then you're going to be struggling to find fish out there. With our water temps, when we had that really cold weather that came through right around Christmas, it really dropped those water temperatures down into the 40s. Which is going to really cause those fish to seek shelter and find some warmer water. And where are they going to find those at?
Yeah, and holes.
Mm-hmm. Holes or creeks, holes, creeks, rivers.
Yeah, so this time of year when someone's, and I see it all the time, people scouting on Facebook, but when you ask how deep, that's not
that's not a relevant question this
not a
time of year.
relevant question.
Yeah.
It completely depends on the tide. You could be fishing in 18 inches, or you can be fishing in 4 feet of water.
Or even deeper than that.
Yeah,
If you're way back in a
you're-
creek and you got a hole there and you got a 6 or 8 foot hole there, you might find fish in the bottom of that for sure.
Yeah, and another thing to look at when you're going out is I started on it with the tides and got a little in the weeds there, but you got your half moon tides and you got your full moon tides and your new moon tides, and right now it's every week. One week you're gonna have some really low lows in the mornings a lot of times, and your afternoon's gonna have some good high tides in the afternoons. I love fishing those afternoon big high tides.
Yeah, there's a couple reasons that those are really good. One, it's given, you got all day for that sun to kind of beat down on the water and warm it up. Plus, those areas that were exposed in the morning at low tide, had a chance to warm up a little bit, and so they're going to get covered up, and that area is going to be a little bit warmer than it might have otherwise.
And just a lot of water movement.
And there's a lot of, and the
gets
other
those
reason,
fish fired up.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of water movement, which is going to cause those fish to feed, which is, obviously if you got feeding fish, you're going to be, doing some good.
Yeah.
So
I've got nothing in my headphones here. But anyway, it's fine. You just go with it. It's fine.
So anyway, so let's talk a little bit about what we expect to see moving forward this month.
Yeah, well, I expect it's going to be full-on winter fishing, for another month or two. It's going to be like we were just talking about. There's trout and redfish in the creeks, but they're not exclusively in the creeks or rivers.
Yep.
They are still out on the flats. It really depends on where you're at.
Yeah, we're getting into that the dead of winter. This is our coldest time of year. So as the temperature drops, we're going to be, like we talked about earlier, fishing around those fronts. And as those temperature drops, we get those cold fronts in, they're going to push in and try to find some shelter or find some warm water. And then as you get those warming trends, they might start to scatter out a little bit more.
Well, I think even last week, even after that last cold front we had, there were people still catching limits of trout and stuff, out over the grass. Now they're in 2 or 3 feet of water, but, they're there.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, as you move forward, you're going to find fish in, some concentrated areas. Hello.
What happened? Burnt? Yeah, we're
still got
good.
power. We're good.
Anyway.
All right. We're gonna keep right on rolling. So this again, we've got some new equipment this year, so we've got some issues that we're still working through, but yeah. So we got a couple questions coming up. So continue to ask questions as we go, so that when we get to them, I can hear you, by the way, so you're good. So continue to ask you. We're gonna finish up real quick. What's your best bet for this month, Evan? If you were to go out and just, one specific tactic that you would incorporate to catch fish.
I'm honestly, I'm looking at creek mouths, and I'm looking up in the creeks, and or shallow flats, mud flats when those big high tide or big low tides in the morning, like we were talking about.
Sure.
They're going to warm up as the water comes over them, and they're going to warm the water up as the water comes over them, and they'll be sitting on those too. So, oyster beds, mud flats, even sometimes sand,
absolutely,
rocks,
yep,
stuff like that. That's what I'm looking for mostly, and I'm fishing. I don't want to go on. I mean, I will go. I have to go, but if I'm have a choice, I don't want to go on those crappy tides where there's, what'd you say, the water movement was like this instead of like this on the tide chart?
Yeah. If it's just a little wave instead of a big up and down when you look at that tide chart.
Yeah, if it's moving 1.4 feet in a tide change instead of 4 feet, then obviously.
If you're limited to when you could go, you definitely want to pick those days that have more water movement.
That being said, we killed them the other day, and there was only about 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely catch fish on those slower tide days. But
so the old saying is, go when you can go.
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
Best time to fish is when you can go.
When you can go, and this time of year when the weather's nice. When you got those weather windows, you want to try to get out there. So we got a little tackle tip that we want to talk about, real quick. So we're going to bring a little. So one of our wintertime tactics that we use is live shrimp. We don't have a live shrimp here tonight, but Evan's going to give you a demonstration on how he prefers to rig his live shrimp.
I got a fake shrimp, so this will work. Okay, so to start with, if I'm hooking it under a cork, I like it to have a look pretty natural. So what I'll do is, and I don't know how good you guys can see this, but I'm trying here. I'll hook it right there under the horn in the back of the head, kind of like that. And what he'll do is he's still alive there. There's like a ball of I don't even know what it is, organ.
It's right behind the brain. It's the brain. You want to hook it right behind the brain, yeah.
Yeah, I'm close to it, not through the brain. Yeah. So he'll actually sit there and just swim like that under the cork on your hook.
And so you're just trying to suspend that shrimp in the current or whatever as you're.
Yeah. A lot of times if you're doing that, you can throw it up current in the creek and let it wash through a productive area or something.
Sure.
And But I'm also doing that on a weightless hook. I'm not really doing that under a jig head, under a cork. I may have a split shot on the line. Another way, if you're just casting shrimp down into holes and stuff in the creek is, and this is a little different from a lot of people do, I like to hook it right in its chest, right in his legs, and then I kind of curl, and this is like fake shrimp with a weight in it, so it's not doing really well, but I'm trying here. Curl it around just so you got the most surface area of your, your hook and your shrimp there. And I usually just leave the point of the hook tucked in the tail. I don't even bring the point out, because if you're in a creek or whatever, and there's usually rocks or rock grass or something like that there, so that pointed at hook is almost going to be weedless when you're just moving it through there gradually. And I guess
and you don't care that the shrimp is curled up. That doesn't seem to make
I
a
don't
difference.
care at all.
Okay.
And one more thing, and we can talk about it. And Scotty was just talking about this a second ago, but is ripping off the tail of your shrimp and then taking it and threading it down through there like you would a paddle tail or a gulp or whatever, and then pushing him up on there, so you have a live shrimp sitting on a jig head like that. And that's when you're casting more and trying to cover more ground and stuff like that, which I don't ever do. If I'm trying to cast and cover ground, I'm throwing a artificial bait. But some people do that.
Sure.
When they're fishing shrimp.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, those are the first and last I fished. I haven't thought about the hooking them up through the bottom to rig them kind of weedless or snagless. That's a pretty good tip, especially when you're fishing areas that got a lot of rocks and, like you were saying, rock grass. So that's good.
All right, guys, we're about to start reading off some questions, but
yeah, go ahead and get your. We're gonna have we got a guest coming on here in just a minute. So if you've got questions, now's the time to get them in, because as soon as we get done with our guests, we're gonna get to those questions, and we're gonna
come on, Scotty.
We're gonna bring Scott Pritchard in, who is the owner operator of North Florida Aquatic Adventures, based out of Shell Point here. Let me get you sound going there. There you go, Scotty.
Great. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess first of all, just talk a little bit about what it is that you got going on, and what it is that you're trying to accomplish with what you got going down here at Shell Point.
Great. Thanks. Yeah, Jay. So over the past few years, I've really developed a love for being on the water, and really decided to start a business to try to help people be closer to the water and get on the water. And I do a lot of kayaking, as you guys know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we purchased a property on Shell Point Beach here. We are just off the beach. Jay's about to bring a picture here. So that's the front of our property. It's a perfect property for rentals. It has a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom upstairs and a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom downstairs, which can be combined to bring it to a 3-2. It's just across the road from the beach. Here on the picture, you can see the house marked by an arrow. We have a nice view from the upstairs, which I believe is the next picture. This is right out from the front living room, and and so we have an unobstructed view of the Gulf. We also are sitting on the canal, as you can see. It's a deep water canal, has room for 2 boats, and even in a negative low tide, there's enough room to get out.
Yeah, you got some kayak slides down there too, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna not quite yet. We gotta work on better entry and exit from the dock for kayaks, but we're gonna put in a grab bar to help people get in and out of their kayak. And
yeah.
So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so really our goal with the business is to, one, offer a place for people to be on the water, and then as well offer our guests kayak services such as kayak fishing trips, eco tours on the Wassissa or the Wakulla River, and then also we have fishing charters through Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing about this spot is literally, I mean, I'm looking at the Gulf right here, and there's a lot of, right here at Shell Point, there's a lot of nice kayak fishing opportunities on the Salt, and then you're also just a short drive from some beautiful spring-fed rivers.
Tallahassee's pretty close too, so not too far.
Manatees, alligators, depending on the season, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, we do have some beautiful rivers up here in North Florida that are awesome to explore, and Scott and his buddies can help you get on those as well too.
Yeah, this area is prime for kayak fishing year round. We have multiple launches. There's probably 10 kayak launches within 10 miles of this, coastal miles,
Mm-hmm.
as we are here.
Mm-hmm.
And then also we have lots of opportunities of short paddle fishing, pretty much year round.
Yeah, so you're just trying to be a one-stop shop for all of your aquatic outdoor needs. And
Yep.
Kayak fish, kayak eco tours and fishing charters right there, and you can stay with a beautiful view right at the beach.
Jay, let's hit some questions. I gotta depend. Anybody got any questions for Scott? He's gonna sit in with us.
Yeah,
on
if
this,
you got any
but
questions for Scott that you
I,
think of, he's going to sit in with us through this part. So make sure you get those in too. But
I gotta depend on you for the questions here. I can't read anything from.
all right, so let's see. First question is from Bob Myers. He says, it's time for the fish to be in the creeks and rivers. Will all the recent rain push them out, or how will it affect them? We were just talking about this, Evan.
Yeah, so where I live, and I guess some of you know, but I actually live in Keaton Beach. We got some rain, but it wasn't. Driving over here today to Shell Point, looks like the western areas and a little more north of there got a lot more rain than I realized.
Right.
So, yeah, it is going to play a factor on that over here towards the, the St. Marks and the Osceola and the Icofina and stuff like that, more so than maybe a little southern.
Yeah, I think the main reason that I think the water, the fresh water affects the fish less in the wintertime as it does in the summertime, and that's just because where they're finding their food is mainly up shallow, up closer in those creeks. Plus, they're obviously looking for refuge from cooler water. So I don't think it's going to have as much of effect, but I do think it could slow the bite down a little bit. I haven't actually been out since that rain, so.
It can, if the rivers swell, it can blow some fish out of the river. Yeah. I mean, for sure.
Yeah,
especially trout. Now redfish, maybe not so much.
Yeah, if we're talking St. Marks, Osceola, Icofina, Finn Holloway rivers, where those rivers dump out, you're definitely going to see an influx of fresh water there, and there's going to be Aqualachee Bay, for sure. You're going to have, it's going to. I think it's going to affect the fishing maybe for a little bit until it starts to equalize.
We'll see, because I don't feel like we've had a lot of rain, so the ground may not be as saturated quite as much. So I
think it's going to run off pretty quick. I think you'll get that.
I don't think it's something that's going to hang around for weeks. It might affect it for maybe this upcoming weekend, maybe.
Exactly.
But if that, I don't even know if it'll last that long.
Harry Smith, who is here. Harry, thanks for coming out, man. He says, what about top waters this time of year? Man, when are we not going to throw top water? When are we not going to throw top water?
I'm not going to throw top water right now.
No, I mean, if you can get away with it, it's going to be a total trial and error thing. One day you're going to go out there and you're going to throw it and you ain't going to get nothing. And then the next day you might go out and you throw it and you start getting bites on it. So it's going to be, if you want to try it, it's going to be hit or miss.
If it's a warm afternoon and the fish are active and they're crushing some subsurface lures, I'll sling a top water out there to see if they'll come up. And I've caught a lot of fish on top water in the wintertime, but it's really picking your spots.
Yeah, I like to see that water. I always say 60 degrees is kind of my rule, but I've seen fish at 58 degrees. A couple degrees below that will still,
always on the rise, never on the fall.
Yeah, as the water's warming, when he talks about the rise, he's talking about warming water, not
water
cooling
levels.
water.
Yeah, water temperature.
Yeah. So that's a good question. All right, let's see. Another question from Harry: is better to wait to fish a late high tide on a sunny day as the sun bakes that mud flats while it's exposed, and wait for the fish to come in and bake? What's that?
Top corner right there, 46, 47.
That's the.
What was the question again?
Better to wait to fish a late high tide on a sunny day as the sun bakes that mud flats while it's exposed, and wait for the fish to come in and bake?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we were just talking about, I guess. And I'm sorry, I got a little distracted there.
We want the water to warm up as much as possible during the day to get those fish to get active and feed.
Yeah, I think that we just talked about it. I don't know when the question was asked, but for sure you're going to target those in the afternoons, not first thing in the morning.
Yep.
Mostly.
So another question, Emmett Reed says, how is the winter fishing at the mouth and in the Aqualachee Bay River? How far up do you have to go? Nice shirt, Paul Bunyan or Evan.
Thanks, Emmett.
Yeah.
Aqualachee Bay is admittedly not my specialty. I fish, professionally to Panacea. I don't do it much anymore, but I never really fished the Aqualachee Bay a whole lot, spent a whole lot of time in there. So honestly, I'm not the best person to ask about that. What do you think? We got Harry Smith on site. Harry, what you think?
Harry,
I think you fish Aqualachee Bay much? He really doesn't. Oh, well, sorry, Emmett.
I think what you can take though is what we know with like the St. Marks River and some of the bigger rivers in the area, and apply some of those same, apply some of those same tactics or whatever to larger bodies of water like that. Like for example, in the St. Marks River, those fish are they're up the river a ways. You can catch them way up, even up to the bridge on 98 from what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are putting in the fort and not going very far.
Right.
Well, I don't know why I'm naming spots. I'm sorry. I apologize about that.
Lighthouse is always on fire.
Yeah.
Lighthouse is always on fire, year round, 52 weeks a year.
All right, so Scott Parrish asks, where can I go to find sheepheads?
Rocks around the full moon, whether that be in creeks or, starting in February, I guess, on the full moon in February, you can go offshore.
And you find them now.
Structure
They're going to be in some holes around oyster bars, some of those deeper holes in the creeks and
some
stuff
creeks
like that.
and
Yeah.
rivers and stuff.
Yeah.
If you've got something, they're eating like shelly, barnacles and crabs and stuff. So anything with some hard
If you
bottom
want
or
to
something, right?
specifically target sheep's head, I don't know that there's much better than a fiddler crab. So those are, depending on where you're fishing, they're pretty plentiful. So if you can find some fiddler crabs and you really want to target sheep's head, look for those deeper bends in rivers that got oysters near it, deeper holes in creeks or creeks or rivers that got some structural oysters near it, and then use,
Pilings, docks.
Yeah, pilings and docks in Knocklockney Bay.
Yeah,
would definitely
maybe
be
bridge.
someplace. The bridge there.
Naming
then-
spots again.
And then use fiddler crabs or maybe a little chunk of a blue crab or something like that if you're really trying to target sheep's head.
See, St. Mark's guys are gonna get mad because I'm not fishing St. Mark's much at all, so I'm just naming spots over here.
So yeah, if you're
What is it around? Is it that gets them? So I'm not a big sheep's head fisherman, but the full moon that gets them fired. It's just the spawn in the spring, the early.
well, I think
spring.
they spawn in February.
Yeah, I think
late
they go
February,
like
yeah,
February
yeah.
through April.
Right. So William Christie says, any artificial lures for sheepies?
No.
I have caught a sheep's head on a rattling redfin before, so I'm not saying you can't catch them on artificials. And I've heard of other people catching them on strange baits.
I think if you catch them on artificials, it's a fluke more than anything.
You got
And
something to say, Scott?
I do. I was fortunate enough to catch a 22-inch sheep's head using a Bug's curly tail jig and nuclear chicken.
Okay.
There you go, William Christie.
And so you were fishing a Bugs lure?
Mhm.
Oh, that's funny because Chris Lewis just said Bugs lures. So there you go. Which is a jig. It's
See,
kind of a
I'm-
jig. It's got
I'm
a
learning
flat head
stuff
on
here.
it. It mimics a crab.
I think if I was going to target sheep's head, though, I'd just stick with a shrimp or a fiddler crab.
Yeah, you definitely want to go live or something live bait or a piece of a crab or a live crab or something like that. For
Regarding sheep's head, I'll give a plug for a tournament, Honoring the Brave tournament, put on by Will Neiman and group out of St. Augustine Paddle Sports. Is a sheep's head tournament this month. You still have till January 8th to sign up.
All right, cool. One more question here we got from Emmett, which I'm not a big fiddler. I don't fish a lot with fiddler crabs, so this might not be a question that I can answer. It says, I was at Alligator Point last week. I didn't see any fiddlers where they normally are, on tips on where to find them.
I don't really like fish with fiddlers, but I see them all along the coast, especially on the not super high tides, but when the water's backed off, right there where the grass meets the sand.
Yeah.
I mean, I see a ton of them all over the place. I can't tell you specifically right now, but I mean, when I see them, because I'm not going around, and I'm not a fiddler crab guy. I'm not really targeting sheep. I don't know, other than, you catch them on, you reds on them, but other than that.
My understanding is on warmer, when the flats warm up, when the sandy, grassy transition area warms up, they'll come out of their holes a little more.
Yeah.
There you go. We got him up here for a reason.
I also should plug how to find my business. The best way right now, how to find North Florida Aquatic Adventures, is on Facebook. So if you are interested in booking our house, you can reach out to me on Facebook. Thanks.
One more question here. We got another question regarding water or fresh water. When there's so much fresh water and tea-colored or darker, what is a good method to find clean water? Or furthermore, does the salinity actually move the fish off spots or just turn off the bite?
Yes. Yes to all. No, you know, the biggest freshwater sources are rivers. So your major rivers, you know, and are going to push some fish. It can, like Jay was saying, it happens more in the summertime, but it's, you know, I don't know that it's going to have a ton of effect this week. I mean,
I don't think so either. If we had, I didn't mean to cut you off, but if we had like, you know, a big rain event and then another big rain event, you know, or consecutive big rain events, then I think you would see more in effect. I think it's going to level out pretty quickly here in the next few days.
But in general, yes, when you have the rivers are just dumping, swollen, and dumping a bunch of fresh water, I move away from the rivers as far as I can get.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or bigger creeks. You know, some creeks are going to be more tidal, and some creeks are going to have more freshwater runoff than others. So, you know, knowing which one of those or which can be key sometimes too if you're wanting to fish
For sure.
close.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a lot of people fishing in the river right now, so maybe go fish, find you a creek to go explore instead of in
Jay.
the river. Do we want to get lost in the weeds on this one?
Yeah, do we have any questions?
Let me see. Are there any? There are no more questions at the moment. So I'm sure we could generate a few questions if I think you're about to bring up what I think you're about to bring up.
Yeah. So me and Jay were having a bit of a conversation, maybe a bit of a spirited conversation about river etiquette, as far as people fishing in the river, and whether you should just fish in the middle of a river, or whether if you're fishing in the middle of a river, it's okay to just wake somebody on plane. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of nuance into that. I guess it just depends. Maybe if you're fishing a channeled river like the Steenhatchee or the St. Marks, definitely don't be in the channels.
Yeah, for sure. But we have some unmarked rivers as well, like the Osceola and Ecofina, which hold a lot of fish. Harry Smith says stay on plane. Yeah. Yeah, so my biggest thing is try not to fish in the middle of the river if you can, or try not to anchor up or pull down in the middle of the river if you can help it. Not everybody is trying to fish the river. There's some people trying to run through the river to get, you know, to creeks or wherever they're trying to get further up the coastline. And believe it or not, Harry, that people do anchor up or power pole down in the middle of the river, and so it's not safe for one, and then the other is, you know, you're kind of inconveniencing other people.
I think it gets a little more nuanced when you have a river that does not have a marked channel.
For sure.
You know, because, you know, you're obviously not breaking the law, not being in the markers. It's kind of a courtesy thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't know. If there's one or two people fishing in the river, they're probably about to get waked when I'm on my way out. If there's a dozen piled up on a spot, yeah, I'm probably coming off plane and easing around them. I don't know. This time of year always causes a lot of conflicts, you know, and rivers and creeks and stuff like that. When you're in a creek with somebody, you know, somebody's going to run over you. I mean, people are up further up creeks than you. I mean, there's interconnected stuff. I mean, they have no choice but to come by you sometimes. But I think maybe the best way to handle that is just maybe, if you can, just politely maybe point them one way or the other.
Yeah, because you may be, you know, in the creek, like you said, and you're fishing on the, you know, stern side of or the port side of your boat, but you've got room on the other side that you're not fishing. That's not the hole or area that you're fishing, and it's not really a problem if somebody passes on that
maybe
side.
Just try to direct somebody where you're not fishing, or if
Right.
you're the one moving, maybe look for someone to direct you, and maybe to avoid some conflicts, you know, because a lot of times, you know, it can't be, you know, if you're fishing right in the mouth and it's a small creek, they're going to have to run you over to get out. I mean, it's just part of it, you know, even if you didn't know they were in there, it's just kind of how it goes. The good thing about this time of year is the fish that are hanging in the creeks, a lot of times they recover pretty quickly after being run over.
Yeah. Harry has a good point. It says, well, watch their lines. And by what he means by that is just, you know, pay attention to which side of the boat they're fishing on, you know, which side of the boat they're casting on. You know, if you see them all casting off of one side of the boat, don't drive right over that spot where they're casting. You know, you want to try to, if you can, go on the other side.
Well, that's the obvious answer there, Harry.
Yeah.
And as a kayaker, the other obvious answer is watch out for boats, and generally I try not to be in the middle of the river.
Yes.
Yeah, don't be in the middle of the river in a kayak, please.
Yeah. So I think we got into some good stuff. You got anything else you want to add there, Evan? Anything else, Scotty?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think think we'll wrap it up then. We want to thank Scott Pritchard for hosting us here in Shell Point. Again, North Florida Aquatic Adventures. Find him on Facebook. Right now, you do plan on expanding that, right? Having a website and all that stuff.
Yeah, my website will be up soon. I focused first on establishing a presence on Airbnb, not as necessarily North Florida Aquatic Adventures, but the houses on Airbnb and on Facebook.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and if you've never really been on a kayak or been up some of these spring-fed rivers, and you don't really know exactly what you're doing, give him or
give our boy Harry Smith a call
other,
too. Yeah.
Guides around here a shout. They'll show you what's up.
They
do a lot of group trips too, I think.
Yeah, thanks.
I also want to give a shout out to my buddy Garrett Jackson, who kind of helped us get all of this set up and running. Got us our equipment and got the stream set up for us. So
running for the most part, we may have a fire that we're not right,
right
now.
You said we had
some burning.
Yeah, I know, right? I hope everything is still working after we get done. But again, thanks, guys. I'm Jay Carson, Evan Snow. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. It's New Year, so try to get out. Right now, wintertime is great for sight fishing. So if you have an opportunity on some of these really negative tides, we can have some really phenomenal days. So if you have a chance to do that, Evan on Facebook, Instagram, he's got his website. So check him out there, Apalachee Inshore. We will see you next month. Y'all have a good evening.